What's up, guys? Shola Dele here. Thank you for visiting my YouTube channel and watching my videos where I teach you how to deal with stress and you become a stress killer. Stress, like they say, high blood pressure is a silent killer. Stress also is a silent killer. Before you know it, it is too late. A lot of people go through stress, they don't know about it or they avoid it. They want to run away from it until it is too late. So according to my book, it says stress kills stress, re-engineering the human mind to overcome and live above stress. So I teach you nuggets, techniques, practices on how to deal with stress and become a stress killer so that you can live a quality life. So in my last video, I talked about compartmentalization, how you are able to compartmentalize. You see, this is the work of the mind, the human mind. And let me say this is what separates us from other animals. We have this mind that we are able to do things. If you watch and look at everything around you that is man-made, it is a mind that made it. Remember, what's his name? I don't want to mention names, but people come up with different things, the airplane, the computers, all these things came from the human mind, and men are able to do these things. And if men are able to build skyscrapers, submarines, and all kind of things, how much more you can use your mind, your human mind, to deal with stress and live the quality of life that you're created for. So last week I talked about compartmentalization. And this week, I know the title says Revisiting Traumas, but it's just about the same thing. That's just a catchphrase, but this is a continuation of compartmentalization. And if you remember in the video, you can check it out. The video talks about the human mind having that ability to capture or to store and put aside traumatic experience. Anyway, let me just go into the definition of compartmentalization as I have in my book. Compartmentalization is the human coping mechanism that enables us to deal with traumatic situations by living outside of that moment in time and boxing up the experience in a closet in our mind and subconscious. So every human being has that ability. The mind is amazing. As an amazing asset to us. You're able to, compartmentalize traumatic experiences like rape, molestation, different kind of traumas, loss of a loved ones, loss of parents, different kind of traumas that people go through that affects us. I talked more about it, but today I'm talking about revisiting trauma. And why it's called a revisiting trauma as a catchphrase, what I'm trying to say is that your mind is able to compartmentalize events. And if you listen to my definition, it said the ability to live outside of a traumatic moment and box up. It's like a movie you watch. You box it up. You box up that experience and put it in a closet in your mind. Have you heard where people talk about they were triggered by things they suffered when they were young or things they suffered, many years back? It might be a breakup. It might be the loss of a job. It might be anything can be traumatic to people. What you don't count as traumatic can be traumatic to another person. So the mind is able to, lock those things up and put it in what I call a closet in the mind, And I was trying to say in the last video that though the human mind has the ability to compartmentalize, but compartmentalization is not the end of the process of dealing with that trauma, because that trauma causes stress. So now we're dealing with the root cause of stress. So we have to go back to that trauma. So when the human mind compartmentalizes a traumatic event, it is stored up. It is stored up in the mind in a disorganized manner. It's just stored up there. It's like a closet in your house where you just pick up clothes that are unwashed, different kind of dirty stuff. You throw it in the closet. It's unorganized. After a while, the closet will even start to stink. Or you can come across the closet and see it disorganized. You won't like it. That is how we store traumatic experiences in our mind. And if you remember, you've heard where people say triggers. Different kind of things can trigger. So, like, for example, somebody that had a relationship where they were abused, physical abuse in their relationship. And the thing that the man or the woman used to do to them, because not only men, women that experience, abuse. So men experience abuse too. So whatever abuse they suffered, when they're in a new relationship, there are some things their new partner can do that can trigger them, and they will revisit. That is not even revisit. The trauma they suffered from the other partner will come bearing down on them, and before you know it, they lose it. It's either they have a panic attack, anxiety, and all other kind of things happen. And because of traumatic experiences, the way people cope with traumatic experiences, I said in my last video, is usually, for the most part, not everybody, but for most people, if they're not careful, they turn into negative things. They turn into vices. Some start to smoke, some start to drink, some start to do drugs, some start to get involved in sex, extramarital affairs, and other kind of things, vices, which at the end of the day will actually destroy them in the long run, especially when you talk about drugs and alcohol. These things, though you're trying to run away from the effects of trauma, but you find yourself in another, trouble, and this affects the health. So like I said, the human mind has the ability to compartmentalize, put those things in the closet. But you are supposed to revisit that closet. And this is the whole sum of the job of the therapist. I'm not a therapist, but I come to you with nuggets and truths based on my lifetime of experiences. I told you about what I suffered as a young person. I suffered abuse as a young child for 14 years. I had a out-of-body experience, outside of body experience. I experienced a lot of things that made me, know these things. And I'm a critical thinker. So I'm able to, critically study and analyze the things that happened to me. And I was able to bring about solutions to those traumatic experiences over the years. And that's what I put in my book. So as I'm saying, when the human mind compartmentalizes trauma and put it in the memory, in the subconscious, the human mind is not created to leave it there. Why? Because those traumatic experiences will come back and haunt the person that it happened to. It will come back and trigger. Triggers will happen that will take the person back to those traumatic experiences, and before you know it, they wake up in the middle of the night, they can't sleep, and different kind of things will happen. It happens to soldiers too, PTSD and all that kind of stuff. So those are traumatic experiences. But the human mind has also the ability to go back and deal with those things, because those experiences are stored up in a disorganized manner. But the human mind is so powerful that it has the ability. That's why you see when you go for therapy, the therapist is going to sit you down. The therapist is going to make you revisit the traumas of the past. So I'm bringing to you what my experience has been, what I've learned on how to do these things. So revisiting trauma means that your mind will now go back to that time when you suffered those trauma, and your mind is able, you are now able to rearrange that closet. It's like your computer, I don't know if we still do it these days, but there's a time we used to do what is called defragmenting our computers, where the files are all over the place, they're not arranged properly. Then they tell us to analyze and defragment our computers so that the files in the computer will be arranged properly. So that is what you do when you revisit this trauma. That's what you do when you revisit this closet in your mind, so that the traumatic experience that happened to you, which you didn't cause it, you didn't create it, it happened to you. But the effects live with you. You can run away from it. People can run away from trauma until they go back. And that's what therapists do. I really appreciate the work of therapists, psychotherapists, and all of them. They're doing such an amazing work. And what they do is that they take your mind back to that event to go and confront it. I call it rearranging the closet. You go back to that traumatic experience. See it as it is. You're not going now as a victim. You're not going back now as a victim. You are going back to that experience like a spectator. You see, so you need to revisit your closet. Therapists will tell you need to revisit the trauma. I call it the closet. You need to go back to the closet and rearrange it. So the closet wasn't, created by you, but it is still there. And let me tell you a little bit about the closet, the trauma in the past, especially for those that suffered childhood traumas. When you were young, maybe you were molested, or you were abused by your parents, physical abuse, mental abuse, psychological abuse, emotional abuse. You suffered it in the hands of an adult or something like that, whatever trauma you suffered. So as a child, before you get to that age of adulthood, which is the age of accountability, as we know, society puts responsibility on you once you get to the age of 18. You no longer can call yourself a child at the age of 18. So before the age of 18, that age of accountability, whatever was done to you as a child, you can blame somebody. You can say, oh, this person did this to me. Even the society will blame those that did it to you. But the problem with most adults that we have today is that when they get to adulthood, they still continue to blame the people that did things to them when they were young. And when you continue to blame people for what is going on to you as an adult, you are putting yourself as a victim. When you make yourself a victim, you become powerless. So what I'm bringing to you is to give you power. That is why you're going to revisit that traumatic experience. You're going to revisit that traumatic experience with power this time. You're going to go back not as a victim. You're going to go back as a spectator, and at the end of the day, as a victor. So that is what happens. So, for example, I always talk about animals. When I was young, when I was very small, I used to study animals. I watched a lot of animal documentaries, and we grew up in a swamp where I don't know, for some reason, maybe because of this, for some reason, I just watch animals every time. You know what I discover about animals? Let's take, for example, the antelope. The antelope or the rabbit. Have you seen where an eagle trying to hunt a rabbit? Sometimes the eagle will succeed, sometimes the eagle will not succeed. So you can imagine the ecosystem. The rabbit is made as a prey, and the eagle is made as a predator. Most people will look at the rabbit and say, oh, what poor rabbit. You were just made to be eaten, to be destroyed. But guess what? The rabbit itself don't blame the eagle. The rabbit itself never blames the eagle. The rabbit itself never says, oh, I've been given the short end of the stick. Or the antelope. Okay, look at the antelope itself. I said it in my book. The antelope is one of the most graceful animals you can see, you can experience in the wild. That is why they use the antelope in children's storybook. This animal is so beautiful and so graceful. But look at the lifespan of the animal itself. The lifespan of the antelope is dependent on one major factor, when the predator catches it for lunch or dinner. So does the antelope now start feeling bad, like, oh, woe is me, I can't leave, I can't do this, I can't do that, because any day the lion is going to get me? But no, this animal is so graceful. So what these animals do that are prey is that they live their life, they continue living their life to be the fastest, to be the best, mostly to be the fastest antelope that will outrun the fastest lion on the planet. They don't go into a corner and throw into towel and start crying that, oh, woe is me, I'm done, I'm just a prey. No, they go about living their life, and they are so graceful, they are so beautiful. When it's time to run, they are ready to run. They live their life to outrun. They look for ways, the best ways to outrun the predator. So we as human beings, we are the apex of creation. The things that happened to you in the past, there's no human being on this earth that the good, the bad, and the ugly will not happen to. But as human beings, we have come to a point, we have developed so much that we have the tools to live life after trauma. So this video is short, my videos are short. I am going to teach you the steps you're going to take to go back and revisit. Go back and revisit those trauma. There are going to be breathing exercises. There are going to be some things you have to do to practice. And I will take you will take yourself, because you will not be doing with me, because I'll give you the tools. You will take yourself to that trauma that happened to you in your childhood. And you're going to speak to that trauma. You're going to address it. You're going to speak to that closet. You're going to rearrange that closet. You see, like I said, in the computers, when you defragment or you analyze or you put together your computer, you do it. Why? So that it can run smoother, it can run faster, so that it can be more effective. A lot of people go about their day, every day, every week, every month. They go about living 25, 50% of their mental, psychological capacity. That's why you see a lot of people, you see road rage. The person that is having a road rage, listen to me, that person is living mentally, psychologically, emotionally, maybe 25 or 50% of their capacity. For you to live a fulfilled life, you must be living, according to, this is just me, you must be living above 80% of your mental, psychological, emotional, and physical capacity. You must be mentally sound. You must be physically sound, emotionally, psychologically sound to live a fulfilling life. So I'll be teaching you in my next video how to go back, rearrange the closet, put everything where they're supposed to be. You're going to use words. You're going to put everything where they're supposed to be. You're going to speak to that trauma. You're going to speak to that traumatic experience. You're going to speak to that closet. I interchange the trauma for closet in my book. Anytime that I'm talking about trauma, I'll be calling it a closet. You're going to rearrange the closet. And after that, you will be living a stress-free life, a better life, a more fulfilled life. You will no longer be living 25% of your mental capacity, emotional, psychological capacity. You'll be living towards a higher level. I will tell you, I don't think there's any human being that can live 100% of their mind's capacity or their mental capacity. I don't think there's anybody, but you are created to live a healthy lifestyle. And I hope you will join me for my next video. This video has gone longer than I usually would do them, but I hope you picked up something from it. Share your comments with me. Please share this video. And also, I said it before, if you have a situation you want me to address in my videos, write to me. I'm going to read it. I'm going to address that situation. I don't need to mention your name. You don't even need to mention your name. Even if I see your name, I don't need to mention your name in my broadcast. But I'm going to talk about that situation and how you can handle it. Watch out for my next video. Thank you. Out.